name's Rachel and I work in the education team at the National Archives. We are going to be opening one of our 11 million document boxes today to reveal a document inside. Let's find the box I'm looking for. As you can see, every document box in our collection has a unique reference. With so many, that's important. A reference is a special group of numbers and letters used as a label so we can find documents in the archives, a bit like the references used to find books on a library shelf. These letters are not chosen at random and reveal clues about the document inside. For example, HO stands for Home Office. Our box has the code copy. Remember that, and we'll come back to it later. Before we open the box and find out what document is inside, I want you to think about the questions you should ask about a historical document that you have never seen before. For example, what type of document is it? Could it be a photograph or a newspaper report or even a letter? Sometimes this is obvious, but at other times it can be trickier to work out. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to come up with as many other questions we should ask. Start thinking in 3, 2, 1, off you go. Well done, how did you get on? Let's see if we came up with similar questions. So, what is it about, or what is its content? When was it made? Is there a clear date, or do we need to use other clues from the document to help us work this out? Who made it? Who is it for? These might be clear, or we might need to try and work them out. Why was it made? Or what is its purpose? And the last question, why do we have it here at the National Archives? Why has the government kept this record? We might be able to make some suggestions about that, connected to the reference code that we saw earlier. The document had the reference code copy. What do you think copy stands for? Well, we won't be able to look at all of these questions today, but we'll work together on some of the most relevant ones. Now, we are going to find out what is inside this box. At first, I am only going to give you 10 seconds to answer 2 questions. What can you see and what can you infer? Here is our document. Ready, go. Welcome back. Now, I've been slightly misleading and have only shown you a section of the document. Looking at this close-up part of the document with the timer going, it's tricky to spot every detail. But you might have noticed some of the following things. The main image is an illustration of a man. Could this help us to date the document? Or might we need to see more of the document to work out the date? On closer observation, the figure doesn't look very lifelike. He looks more like a doll or a scarecrow, with his limbs pointing in unusual directions, and his positioning is also quite interesting. He's not standing upright or lying down, but looks like he's been positioned in a pose in mid-air. How is the figure dressed? As his clothing isn't contemporary, does this help us to date this character in the document? This man is wearing an unusual conical hat with some kind of band or buckle around it. He has a tightly fitted jacket with buttons down the front and a shirt underneath. And he has a wide collar and decorative cuffs on his sleeves. The trousers that he's wearing seem to be closely fitted around the ankle. He also has collar-length hair, a moustache and a short pointed beard. What's he holding? I think he's holding some type of lantern. Again, this could perhaps help us to date the character and possibly the document. In the background, there are some brightly coloured lines, perhaps suggesting fire or some kind of explosion. This would explain the mid-air pose that the figure has taken. Okay, Let's look at the whole document now to see if there are any further details that can tell us more about the age of the document and its nature or content. I'm going to give you another 10 seconds to spot as much as you can. This time, see what additional detail you can spot and what this can tell us about this record. Okay, well done. How did you get on? From looking at the whole document, did you manage to work out what type of document this is? I initially spotted the heading at the top, C.T. Brock & Co. I then spotted the reference to the price of something, 1 penny, sold here. I immediately inferred that this must be a type of poster or an advertisement for something. But what's being advertised? I then spotted the name Guy Fawkes and the words "most terrific explosion." I also saw the name of a place in London, Crystal Palace, at the top of the page, and just below that, the word fireworks. So this source seems to be a poster, but what is it advertising and when was it made? I think that it's safe to say that the man shown here is supposed to be Guy Fawkes. We can tell this from his old-fashioned type clothing, the buckle on his hat, his lantern, and the wooden barrel we can see exploding behind him. But this is where it gets a bit trickier to date the documents. We know that Guy Fawkes was alive in the early 1600s, so does that mean that this poster comes from the 17th century? How can we work out if this is true? Well, reference has been made in the poster to a place in London called Crystal Palace and fireworks. This poster seems to be advertising a type of firework called Crystal Palace for night and day. The cost of this type of firework is 1 penny, which is around the equivalent of 33 pence in today's money. Possibly these fireworks were sold at Crystal Palace, as the poster says "sold here." Or perhaps there was a fireworks display at Crystal Palace that gives these fireworks their name. This is a poster made during Edwardian times, when King Edward VII was on the throne. At this time, similar to today, Bonfire Night, November the 5th, the day of the Gunpowder plot, when Guy Fawkes was stopped from blowing up the Houses of Parliament in 1605, was celebrated with bonfires, fireworks, and food. Crystal Palace was originally built in Hyde Park to house the Great Exhibition of 1851. This was to showcase the great technology and advancements of the Industrial Revolution during Queen Victoria's reign. By the time this poster was made in 1908, Crystal Palace had been rebuilt in an area of South London known as Penn Common. It hosted exhibitions and events such as Christmas pantomimes, flower shows, and even the world's first cat show, and events to commemorate the 5th of November in its grounds. So what can we learn from posters like this as historical sources? Well, they can reveal a lot about people's leisure activities, the things that they found enjoyable and were interested in participating in and paying for. The poster suggests the wish to celebrate events like Bonfire Night in places like Crystal Palace. There must have been a demand for companies to make and sell fireworks. So now we know what the poster is, when it was made and what it's about. I'd like you to think about the following question. Why do we still commemorate and remember the 5th of November today? Pause the video here for a couple of minutes to jot down your ideas. Okay, well done. How did you get on? What happened on the 5th of November, and why do we still commemorate events today? In November 1605, Guy Fawkes and others intended to carry out their plan to kill King James I by blowing up the Houses of Parliament. They wanted to bring back Catholicism with a Catholic monarch. Guy Fawkes, along with some of the plotters who didn't manage to escape, was arrested in the Parliament cellars with the gunpowder. He was tried, convicted, and executed. Parliament declared the 5th of November the day of Thanksgiving, celebrating that King James had been spared. They passed the observance of the 5th of November Act, called the Thanksgiving Act, ordering prayers to be said and church bells to be rung to mark the event. The first celebration of this Gunpowder Treason Day took place in November 1606. Some historians argue that the plot itself may have been a government strategy to reduce the power of Catholics in society. Even today we remember Guy Fawkes Night with bonfires and fireworks. In some places, children make an effigy called a guy, which is burned on the bonfire. Historians still grapple with questions like, was Guy Fawkes actually the key plotter? Why is he singled out to be remembered on November the 5th? And is this why he is seen as significant? The document we've been looking from came from a box with the reference copy. I'm sure you had your ideas about this and what it stood for. Well, the reference copy stands for Copyright Office. These images are designs registered at the Stationers' Hall under the Copyright Acts in force at this time. C.T. Brock & Co. had registered their design in order to print their posters and promote their event or fireworks. So now you've found out what this document is and what it reveals about the significance of the Gunpowder Plot in Edwardian times. You've even considered the significance of this event today. In the following lesson, you'll find out more about the plan of Fawkes and his co-plotters and how they were discovered. Well done for making such great progress already, and enjoy the rest of the lesson.